Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over bee balm, or otherwise sometimes known as bergamot. I just got this from my garden and I want to go over why I'm growing it, what it's for, and how to harvest it and utilize it. This will be a quick video. I'm only doing this during baby's nap time, so I just made some tea and now I'm going to sit here and garble it up, which means I'm going to separate the leaves and the flowers from the stems. Bee balm is also known as Monarda. There are over 20 different species, I believe, of this type of bee balm. I have two growing. I have this one, which is the citrus kind. So it's a lemon citrus kind, and it's called Monarda citradora. I'm gonna butcher these names. I've never been good at non-English words. My tongue just doesn't roll. So bear with me on this. If it's really that bad when I'm playing this back for editing, I will put it on the screen. So I'm gonna drink my tea and then I will get started. I would use gloves for this if I was going to be selling it, giving it to friends. I'm harvesting this for our personal use. So don't think that I'm just using this, and I did just wash my hands too. So I am being clean. If you are doing this for other people or even for yourself, if it makes you more comfortable, put some gloves on. They do have some biodegradable ones. I have latex free hospital type ones that I use for soaps and stuff like that, soap making, but you don't need to. And before I forget, I do have some equipment here. You don't necessarily need all of this. Like I have a little wooden spoon here to help push it down. I have a scale here that I like with a bowl, which I've used in previous things, like with my lavender, because it was small enough stems that I could just put it straight into the bowl. You can see I have this ginormous, I don't know if the camera's doing it justice. This is about 32 quarts, I think. It's pretty big. It's what I use for canning. But because of how big this plant is, because you see, I just literally chopped it 6 inches or so from where it was growing and added some twine, and I hung it up in my pantry laundry area for probably a couple weeks now. Really only needs a few days to dry, but here we are. But because it's so big, this little bowl, I can't really get in there. Worked great for lavender, but I have this out here for options. You don't have to get this necessarily, this ginormous bowl, if you do smaller plants. But again, so for bee balm, you're going to use the aerial parts, which is the leaves and the flower. So like I said, I'm going to garble it from the stem, and then I don't think I'll need more than this, but if I do, I will upgrade. So as I do this, I will go over the properties of this, and I will also go over the history of it, how to use it, and so forth. So let's dive in after I drink some more tea. So I'm going to sit here so y'all can see me, and because I have this habit of getting my head chopped off in videos because I'm tall. So bee balm is part of the Lamiaceae family, if I'm saying that right, which is also known as the mint family. And you can characterize it by seeing on here, that's kind of cool, like this. And I'll put it up, but it has a square stem, which when I first learned that, I was like, no, I've never seen a square stem. Yeah, and you can look at lemon balm, peppermint, spearmint, and all those other ones, and I believe catnip, whatever you call it, depending on where you're at. It all has it on there, and it's so cool. I love it. Just learning to identify plants and learning their different characteristics has been a lot of fun. So if you have a good field study guide, I suggest that you do that. So what I'm probably going to start doing is I'm probably just going to do that. Now before I hung this up, I did check the plant over. I did not wash it. I may have sprayed it off a day or two before in the garden, before I knew I was going to be harvesting it. If you live in a southern place or a place that rains during the summer, you may not need to do that. I am in Northern California where it does not. So it's very hot, very, very dry. You know, like if you're in Arizona or something, I imagine it would be. But so you don't need, I don't recommend that you wash it off necessarily. So I did look this over for bugs. I might need a bigger jar. Normally I overdo it. Well, let's see. And so I'm using this this bowl to help catch as I am taking the leaves off of this. And as I am doing this, I'm still looking for bugs. I have harvested plants, turned around to garble and do this. I just like that word garble. Can you tell I like that word garble? And found spider webs just growing all over it. And yeah, I don't like spiders. I don't do well with spiders. I will throw that plant out. So before I started this, I looked it over quickly and I did not see anything. So for the flowers, I am taking out this little part here. It's like a really hard, the center part. So I harvested this when it was about, these plants get about 2 to 5 feet tall. And like I said, they come in about 20 different varieties. So the flowers come in different colors. There's fuchsia. My other ones have not flowered yet, so I actually don't know what they're gonna be. But they're all used pretty interchangeably. Some herbalists will have their go-tos, just like anybody would with anything. So, but from an basic herbalist perspective, it is interchangeable. So it really doesn't matter what one you have. I'm gonna start making a mess now. So what properties does bee balm have? It's an antimicrobial, so antibacterial, antiviral, things along those lines, especially when used topically. It is both cooling and drying. It's an antispasmodic, it's a carminative, diaphoretic, emmenagogue. And emmenagogue, if you have any herbs that are emmenagogues like this one, you're not going to want to take them while pregnant. So this is not something that you would take while you're pregnant, because what emmenagogue means is it means it starts your flow. So keep that in mind. If you're a dude, you don't have to worry about it clearly. But that is a safety with this. It's also an expectorant and a nervine, which means it works on the respiratory and the nervous system. So this little beautiful flower, not only does it have high volatile oil properties, which means it smells absolutely amazing when you walk by. This was always my favorite little section of the garden to go because of that reason. And that's why the essential oil for this plant, also known as bergamot, is very sought after. I don't know if you've looked at prices for it recently as an essential oil. It's very expensive, especially when I want to use it in soaps and stuff and buy in bulk essential oils. That's just not in my wheelhouse right now. So making my own might be in the near future. That's why I bought those other plants, because the other ones are actually, I bought them from Azure Standard, from a nursery that they have, and it was actually labeled bergamot, not bee balm. So that tells you how interchangeable these are, because this one was also bought from there, labeled bee balm. So knowing the species that is very important when you're doing herbalism, because their common names get changed and interchanged. So it's definitely something to work on. It's the same thing as a nurse when we are learning drugs. You have to learn that Tylenol is also acetaminophen, because Tylenol is the brand name, acetaminophen is the generic name. And so different brands, different concoctions like Vicodin will have Tylenol in it or acetaminophen in it, and you need to be able to recognize things like that. So it's the same thing with herbalism, learning both names and species, all that kind of stuff. And then the other thing, which I'm learning to do, is identify them out in the wild. We went on a hike recently and I was able to identify St. John's wort before I even know, just by the leaves. And then I started seeing some that were actually flowering, and it was so exciting. That might not seem like a lot to you, but I was a city girl and a nurse. And so this is not just ordering it from, you know, Mountain Rose Herbs or something, which I do, I love them. But being able to recognize them and potentially harvest in the wild if it's in a good place. Where I was not. It was right on the hiking trail, so I decided not to grab those. And I had all the kids, so I couldn't go farther off the hiking trail. It's in my mind now, though, that if I ever get the chance, I'll go back up there and see what is available and the amount that I could take. So anyways, let me dive back into Bee Balm. So like I said, it is both cooling and warming. So it does have a dispersive nature. So it's encouraging blood and heat to move from the core to your extremities. So you're moving from here out, so it's being dispersive, right? And in this process, it can make you sweat a little bit, so the diaphoretic properties, so it's going to be cooling you at the same time as warming, right? So you're warming from the center, your core, out, and causing some diaphoresis at some point, sweating. And sweating, the reason for that is cooling, right? That's what we do, especially when we're outside in the heat. Our body sweats to try to keep homeostasis, keep our body at a good temperature. Yep, I needed a bigger jar. And this wouldn't be taking me so long if I was just dropping it in this bucket like it, again, bowl, like I was going to do. But I'm enjoying talking with you right now, and I'm taking my time. So if this is something that you would need to get, you can get done much quicker if you're not jabbing away about the properties of it. Because my mind is split right now. The only reason I'm taking out the center part, I really probably don't need to, is because it's sharp and it hurts. And I don't want to be jamming stuff down into my jar that hurts like that. So, anyways, as an aromatic carminative, which means working on the digestive tract, it's going to help relieve gas. And if you're giving it to a baby, it can help with colic. Sometimes that's what it's been used for in the past, especially from indigenous peoples. Oh, I lost the flower. But it works on your stomach, your liver, your gallbladder, and your intestines, so your GI tract, right? I probably should have separated the stems to make this a lot easier. And so you can use Bee Balm in a tea, you can use it in an oil. Again, like the tea or infusion is going to be what you would give a baby for colic. Obviously, you're not going to give it steaming hot. You're going to let it be very lukewarm before putting it into a bottle or dropper, or however your child is capable of taking it. Please do not give it hot at all if this is what you're choosing to do for them. But because it's antimicrobial, which is antibacterial, antiviral, a lot of herbalists use this for colds and flus. And again, it's an expectorant, so sore throats, coughing, especially from mucus buildup. If you're wanting it, if it's a dry cough and it is needing to be moistened to come on up, this should work for you. Because again, it has a lot of volatile oils. I might actually try and make this into some essential oils with my distiller. I do have other videos on how I use my distiller to make like rose water. What else have I made? Spearmint, different things. I haven't actually made an oil from it, but I haven't, I've done lavender. And there is oil in there, I just didn't separate it out. I was under a crunch time, and I don't think that I picked the flowers at the peak time. These ones I did, because you're supposed to pick these when they're at their peak flowering. Take out the big stems here. And honestly, this was a very easy plant to grow. Like I literally threw it in the ground and forgot about it until it started smelling when I walked by, and then I made a point to walk by a bit. It is at risk for powdery mildew. So if you are in a humid climate or something, or if it is getting wet quite a bit, that is something to consider. Another way to use Bee Balm is to infuse it in like vinegar, like apple cider vinegar would be my suggestion, because you get those other gut properties with it. And some people can use it once it's in a vinegar like that. You can use it for salads. And that's a way you can use a lot of herbs actually, like even rosemary, anything that's a culinary herb that you're pretty used to, you can infuse it into vinegar or honey, and then you can use it in day-to-day applications and get the benefits from it at a small dosage, right? So something that you may not want to take all the time, you can, I don't know about you, but I love rosemary. Rosemary just smells good. So that's my plan. I think my plants are big enough now I can start harvesting them. And so bee balm is considered a culinary herb that is similar to oregano. So putting it in a vinegar like that would be delicious. I imagine you can use it as a marinade even. So that is bee balm. And here is this. So this is probably more of like a quart. Just watch that. Let me get a quart jar. Okay. So I did completely wipe down my counter before doing this, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this while the kids are not here or awake, because of this stuff falling onto my counter. I want to make sure that I'm comfortable putting it into a jar because I don't like to waste things. So that was just one plant, by the way, and it's filling this much. And like I said, it was very simple, very low maintenance in my perspective, especially since I didn't grow from seed. That could be a different story. Don't quote me on it for that. But I am curious how much something like this would cost at like Mountain Rose, because the plant itself was less than $4. So it was probably like $3, maybe almost $4, like $3.95. I think their plants are normally running if it wasn't on sale. And I got a quart from one of them. So, I mean, that's a good amount. You're not going to use very much. I mean, unless you're going to make like a big vat of vinegar for salad dressing, but it's going to cost more than $4, right? And you're not going to know how it was grown. You're not going to know it was sprayed, if anything on it. You're not going to know, it's not going to be as fresh as if you buy it online or even like a natural food store. You don't really necessarily know when it was picked. So this is definitely a good deal. Very minimal time, I would say, again, except chatting with you about it. I will be using this bee balm probably in teas. I'll probably do a vinegar just to say that I did, and I'll report back if I like it. But this is definitely a simple backyard herb that you can grow for culinary, for medicinal, and to have it on hand, highly recommend it. Really, really smells so good. So I do have a lot more in the garden that I'm going to be doing kind of like this, like feverfew and so forth. So make sure to subscribe and like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.